Alright, so we have the grid. There's the I'm going to layers. We have the grid there. We have our separate paths for both the left page and the right page. Now we need to get the content in. So I'm going to go back to the Photoshop document that I brought in, which has this one flat document, and I'm going to select one page at a time, and I'm going to do this. Let me just tap F so I'm going to full screen mode so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to do this based on, you can see here that you can't actually see where the fold is on this. So what I'm going to have to do is hit Command A to select all, hit Command T, and that will bring up handles where you can then drag a guide to find your fold. In fact, it probably was there, but anyway, that's fine. Deselect, and now if I turn my guides on, there we have the guide that will help me to select this properly. So I'm going to start out. I'm actually going to go outside. Will I do that? No, actually, I'm just going to go to the edge. Let's just go to the edge, which is just a little bit easier. We don't have to worry about trim marks or anything like that. The trim marks, of course, help to align it in the first instance. Drag down to the bottom and then find that guide. Wait a while as it just slowly goes past, and of course it's not allowing me to. I can't see the trim here, so if I let go there, and I come back over to here, and you can see it's not bad, but it's slightly off. If you hit Command T to transform, it will distort the document. What you do rather than that is go to the Select menu and transform selection. So that's only transforming the selection. It's not actually transforming the image itself. So then I can just line that up with confidence for the right-hand page there. So now, I always do this. I always cut. I don't copy, because when you cut, you know that something's happened. So I've cut that to now go back into the other document, and let me now hold down my Command key and click on the right page path there. Let's check our layers palette just to make sure we know we're about to paste there, and I want to paste this underneath the perspective grid. So I'm going to select layer 0 and then Command Option Shift V to paste into disregard paste profile match, and of course it's large. It's big, much bigger compared to the original document. So now we hit Command T. Now what's happened here is I've hit Command T and it wants to transform the path. So let's just hit delete with that and go back into the path palette and just deselect the paths. Like layers, you can deselect paths by going down below into the blank area. Come back out into layers again and now hit Command T, and it will of course select the entire document, which of course is a lot bigger than the actual document we're working with. Now, given this is white, we have a lot of leeway that it's not so important that this aligns perfectly to the edge, but as you can see there, I'm getting it as close as possible before I now hold down the Command key and find those corners. So I'm just deliberately dragging it off so you can actually see, and I'm going to find the corner by dragging to there. I'm going to find the fold there, or the spine, by dragging it to there, and then so on. So just drag that to there. That line that you can see there is actually part of the little illustration this girl had on her design. So let me just drag that to there as well. So that's aligned to the edge, and to the untrained eye that would look fine, but as you can see there, it's not running at all well with the natural curve of the page there because of our perspective grid. So while I've got it here, oh, by the way, you could, if you wanted to, go to multiply, and that would combine it with the background. It doesn't make any difference really in the scheme of things. Now, this is where I use my right mouse button key again and go to warp. Right mouse and go to warp, sorry. And that will allow me now to go in as per the other examples I showed you before. Now, it doesn't really matter where you start, and as you can see here, through the center is not too bad at all. I mean, I'm just going to click in here and you can see that you can make these really tiny adjustments. See how that's just sort of moving up and down, and if I'm trying to get that text to fit that line there, part of that perspective grid, it might be a bit hard, but as you can see that it's kind of starting to do it. I probably will find that really hard to try and match that there, so I'm not too concerned about that. But as I go down, I can start to get this to align a bit better. And let's just go down to this point here. And as you can see here, I'm just making these really minute adjustments and moving them around. And as you can see, it's starting to align to the natural curve. Natural. I keep on saying natural. The curve of that created by the perspective. So these tiny little movements, and again, it won't be perfect. Don't stress and think that it has to fit every single line here, because as you can see, that's sort of okay through there, sort of okay through here. What's really important is down the bottom here, where there is this natural curve. Natural, there I go again. Where there is this curve. That's probably the most obvious place down through here that should be curving there. So if I just hit enter, return or enter now, and then turn my perspective grid off, as you can see, that's now naturally, that's natural, because it is natural, that is actually, you know, following that curve that we've got there on the photograph. So we do exactly the same thing for the other side. We go back into the other document. I did have a selection happening there, but I don't anymore. So what I'm going to do is just start outside here, and I'm going to be a bit sort of not very accurate with this, but it doesn't really matter again, because this is going out to a white. I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to go back to the other document, back into paths. I'm going to hold down my command key and command click on that to load that. Let's go back into layers, by the way, and make sure that we are pasting this below where the perspective grid is. So again, it's command option shift V to paste into. Let's turn our perspective grid on again before we now again, as per before, I'm just going to make sure that none of my paths are selected, and that I do have the one that you know, I need to transform. I should label this, of course, but you know what's happening. Again, resize with your shift key. It doesn't really matter, you don't have to hold down your shift key, because afterwards you'll need to hold down your command key to then get those corners right. So there we go, command key as I do each one of these movements. There, where are we there? It's chopping off about there, so we're about there, and then finally that point there. So once we've done that, we now hold down our right mouse button key, right mouse button I should say, and then go to warp, and this is where we start to match. In this instance, this is the most crucial area, so I'm just going to pick that up and drag up, but then come over here and drag down. And that's doing a pretty good job. I mean, I don't think you really need to do too much more than that. This is probably going to be a little bit fiddlier, I can see, because as you can see, if I drag that up there, that's starting to align. This has been effective. So it's going to be a sort of to and fro process. But as you can see, just those two little movements seems to have sorted that out. But then I come down here. So again, some of these curves that you might be working with will be so not slight, actually so exaggerated that it might be that you won't get it perfect. But again, just so long as it's perfect, and particularly in the areas close to the edge of the page, to be honest with you. So because this is close to the edge of the page, I'll be more concerned about that aligning up to the top there than I am with this information down through there. So I'm pretty happy with that now. I'm going to zoom out, hit return, and then turn the perspective grid off. And then, as I said before, I'm going to hit multiply to make sure that that's fitting to the page. And I'm sure you'll agree with me that that's doing a pretty good job of making it look as though it's on the actual printed page that has been photographed. So that's it, guys. That's how to handle a tricky sort of situation like that. I'm just going to show you in the next and final video, I'm just going to show you a couple of tricky instances of how you can handle close-up work, etc. So that'll be in the next video.